Okay, here we go. Big reach up tall. Come down into a standing fold. Just let the body hang, allow the lower back and the hamstrings to open out. Okay, then place the hands on the floor and step back into a long plank position. From that long plank position, keeping the hips stacked with the shoulders and the pelvis tucked, up into a downward dog. Push hands high into the floor, get our hips high, and slowly pad each heel down towards the floor. Remember, you keep the knees bent, you don't need to lock the knees out. Good, slowly rock back through into the top of the plank, and then you're going to stay in that plank position, and what we're going to do is step one foot up towards the hand, okay? If it doesn't get there, and it's further back, that doesn't matter, just keep the foot flat to the floor. Spend a few seconds here, okay, either dropping the knee down or straightening it out, and we're just going to get a little bit of movement through our hips, and then we're going to take the hand off the floor that's nearest the leg, point the elbow towards the ankle, and come around past the knee, turn it to point to the ceiling, opening the chest, and then reach. Hand down, point it towards the floor. Same again. One more. Good. Fantastic. And then we take that leg back and we switch sides. Point the knee, the ankle towards, got no words this morning. Okay, point the elbow towards the ankle, then up towards the ceiling, opening that chest up and reach 3 times. Excellent. Good. And back to that press position. And this is the last thing we're going to do down in that press position. So, in our press position, what we want to do is, when we're in a position where our shoulder blades are slightly squeezed together, without sagging towards the floor though, okay? What we're then going to do is keeping everything nice and tucked and nice and tight. So I'm squeezing my quads, I'm squeezing my glutes. I'm going to actively push the floor away and return back to that normal position. Push the floor away, rounding my upper back. And I just want 10 reps in that position, okay? Good stuff. We're actively pushing the floor away. So the only thing that's moving is my shoulder blades are spreading across my back. Good, once you're done, you can come up onto your feet. And we're just going to hit a few different lunge variations, okay? With the lunge variation, what we're going to do is we're going to swing our arms up over our heads as we do a backward reverse lunge, okay? So that reverse lunge, I step backwards, drop my knee down towards the floor, and reach up tall towards the ceiling, and then stand back up. So I've got my hip, my feet hip width apart, reach down, and up and come back up. So as I'm stepping back, I'm not stepping back onto my back leg, I'm dropping down towards the floor. Bending both knees, looking head up and forwards. Once I've done 5 on one leg, I'll do 5 on the other. I'm making sure I'm not stepping back on the tightrope, so I'm off balance. I'm stepping back and down. Making sure I'm bending that back knee, so I'm not stepping back on that back leg, and I'm not keeping that back leg straight. Excellent, good stuff. Okay, so what we've got today is a descending ladder, okay? So the reps are going to drop as we go, because they get a little bit more demanding and a bit more technical, okay? What we're going to do to begin with is we're going to work through 2 sets of the prescribed reps on each movement with a little bit of rest, just so we can figure out exactly how we're going to coordinate and how we're going to transition through the movements, okay? So the first 2 times we do it, it's more about the technical side of things and making sure we're feeling it and getting it right. And then we're going to work through it as a circuit on a rolling clock to get our strength endurance working and a bit of a sweat on. Okay, So we're starting with a kettlebell swing. There's only 4 exercises today, guys, okay? So with our kettlebell swing, you're going to have your feet a little bit wider than hip width apart, almost where you'd like to do a squat, okay? I want you in a nice, strong, stable position. Now the movement that we're looking for with a kettlebell swing is knees soft, not too much of a squat, and the hips are going to travel backwards and forwards. Okay, and the reason they do that is because they are driving the weight out in front. My arms are going to be like straps, okay? They're just connected to the kettlebell and they're going to move through this movement, but it's not an upper body front raise. I'm sending the weight out on that arc, okay? And it's going through, you should see the weight pop out just between your legs, and then when you fire it out, it'll come up somewhere. Your arms might not reach parallel to the floor. Okay, so what it'll look like is, I'm starting with it out in front, so that when I lift it off the floor, it comes back into that position. Okay, so I'm actively going to pull it in, and then fire it out. So when it's up there, my arms are relaxed. Okay, and we're going to do 2 sets of 10, with a bit of a rest in between each set. Okay, so let's get set up, and we're going to go in 10 seconds. All right, nice and controlled. There should be a lot of snap with this. Okay, so a bit of power involved. 3, 2, 1, away we go. Fire it out in front. 2, 3. Make sure you've got your own count. Good. So I shouldn't feel too much upper body. Obviously, I've got the weight sitting in my hands, okay? But just because it's sitting in our hands doesn't mean that I'm having to pull it up in front of me. Okay, I'll do this set front on so you can see what it looks like front on. So get yourselves ready. We're going in just under 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1, away we go. So you'll notice that I'm not really doing much through my arms. And my torso position doesn't really change. Nice. Good, and when you're done, lower it back down to the floor safely. Good. So that's our kettlebell swing. The next movement that we've got is an overhead lunge. So the kettlebell dumbbell is going to be in one arm, and it's going to be in the same arm as the front leg. Okay? So it's going to be overhead. I'm locking it out, and then the reverse lunges we did in the warm-up, that's what we're going to do. 3, 2, 1. We're going to do 8 reps. So we step back and down, and up. 1. Now, if you're struggling with that overhead position, if you can't keep it stacked, you're going to bring that weight down and have it sit here. If that's a real struggle and your shoulders are burning, you can bring it down and have it on the outside of the leg. We need 8 reps in total. Once you've done 8 reps, we bring it up on the other side, and we do our lunges on the other side. Nice and controlled. You notice I'm not stepping back on my tightrope, causing my hips to push out. I'm actively squeezing through my trunk. And remember, if you're struggling with that overhead position, you can bring it into that front rack, or you can bring it all the way down if your shoulders are fatiguing. Good job. We're going to do another set of that on both sides. Okay, so there's 3 options with that lunge. Ideally, we're going with that overhead, or you can hold the weight here, or you can bring it down on the outside. If you're using a dumbbell, you're probably going to want to have it in this position, so it's almost resting on the shoulder a little bit if you're in that front rack position, okay? Good stuff. 10 seconds, and we're doing our second set. So we take that weight, 3, 2, 1, it's up and overhead, and the hand that the weight is in, the front leg, that's going to be our front leg on this lunge. You'll notice as I'm stepping down, I'm not putting the weight through my back leg too much. Good. And then we switch sides. Good, 3 more, and 2, and remember we need 8 reps on both sides. Good stuff, catch your breath. So next we've got a split stance press, okay? So that split stance press, we're going to be in a split stance, very much like the top quarter of our lunge, all right? And then weight on the same side as the front leg, and we're going to do 6 reps on each side. And we go in 15 seconds. Okay, so that weight is going to start out here. And I assume my split position. And we go in 3, 2, 1. Press. Good, we need 6 reps. And then we switch sides. In that split position, good. And then we can rest. Every time you bring that weight down, guys, make sure we're safely lowering it towards the floor, okay? Good. Catch your breath. And then to finish off, we've got 4 reps. Where we're going to put the lunge together, but we're going to be at the bottom of the lunge this time rather than the top of the lunge. Okay, so we're going to be in that bottom position. The weight's going to go up on the same side as the front leg, same as before. Okay, and this is what we're going to do. I'll just run you through it first. So we take that weight up, I bring hand down to the floor, and I sit through, and I come back up with knee under, and back to that upright position. All the time, I'm keeping the weight over my shoulder. Sit through and down, knee under, and up. We need 4 of those before we switch sides. Nice and controlled. Knee under the body and up. And then when I finish, lower the weight down safely, and then I change sides. So from here, you'll see I put my hand down into that open space, and I sit through. I'm still sitting upright though, my hand is supporting on the floor. I bring that knee underneath, and I straighten back up. Hand down, and through, and up. We get 4 of those on each side. I'm fairly certain I just missed the shoulder press out, didn't I? Good, Mark, take your time. Nice and controlled, always pushing that weight up towards the ceiling. And we sit that, bring that bottom leg, that kneeling knee through so that you can sit down. And we just need 4 of these on each side. Nice, good stuff. All right, guys, take your time with that. Okay, so we've got our kettlebell swings. We've got our reverse lunge. We've got our split stance press. And then we've got our kind of windmill to seated position, which is part of the Turkish get up. Okay, good stuff. Morning out. Good to see you. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're methodically going to work our way through. Okay, we've got lots of time, even though this is going to be on a rolling clock. We're going to take our time to work through it, and I'll just let you know when to start each round. Okay, you can set your own timer if you want to, so you know when to start. But we're going to start with the swings. So you'll do all 10 swings. You'll then do 8 overhead lunges on one side, 8 overhead lunges on the other side. We then go into our split stance press. If you've only got one kettlebell or one dumbbell and the press is difficult, which I'm finding with the kettlebell at the moment, you can stay in a regular stance and you can push press it a little tiny bit if you want to. Okay, i.e. get a bit more leg involvement. And then we've got the half the get up, half the Turkish get up. We're doing 10 swings, we're doing 8 overhead lunges, we're doing 6 press, we're doing 4 of the get up. Okay, cool. Grab a drink. We start in about 25 seconds. So this is quite technically demanding, so don't rush, okay? We're not classing this as a high intensity. Let's get it done as quickly as we can so we can maximize the rest. 3, 2, 1. Let's start with our swings. 10 swings. Relax the arms. Keep the chest up nice and proud. Keep our feet flat on the floor. I'm not pulling with the arms. I want to be feeling that through my hamstrings and my glutes, not bending my knees into a squat, guys, okay? You will need a little bit of knee bend. Once we've done that, we're going to get into our overhead lunges, okay? So I pick that weight up, whichever arm the weight is in, that's my front leg for the lunge. 8 lunges. Don't step on the tightrope. Making sure we stay balanced all the time. Bring the weight down, change the side, making sure that when I do step back, I'm dropping my back knee towards the floor. I'm not stepping on the tightrope. Good. And then when we're ready, you've got your press, okay? So you're either going to do the press in that split position and get the press on the same side as the front leg, or you can do it in the position where your feet are square and you can get a bit more leg involvement if you've only got a heavier kettlebell, okay? We need 6 press on each side, making sure that I'm in that split position if I can manage it. Okay, once you've done 6 on one side, you bring the weight up in that split position. You notice that I'm trying to keep the core tight so I don't lean over on it. Good. Under control all the time. Catch your breath, okay? Shoulders will be starting to fatigue. And then we've got our kneeling position for our get-ups, hand down, sit on through, bring that knee back into the body, straighten back up, down and through. All the time you're trying to keep the hand over the shoulder. Once you've got your 4 on one side, you can lower the weight down, safely switch your stance, weight up on the other side. You don't want that hand to end up not over your shoulder, okay? And you need 4 reps on that side. Good job. So remember, you're taking your time, being really sensible with the speed at which we're moving. And that definitely should have got you out of breath, okay? But it's key that we control the speed of the movement. We control our transition between the movements, making sure that things are set up correctly so that we start the movement in the right position. Good stuff. We've got another minute of recovery, guys, okay? This is quite taxing on the shoulders. At least it is for me. If you've got different load dumbbells and you want to change the weight on the press, okay, that's completely fine to allow you to do it safely and effectively. Or like I've said, we've got some easier options, okay? I'll show you the easier option on the lunge through this one. And I'll also do the easier option for the press as well. 20 seconds then, guys. All right, so let's get back into position. Grab some water if you haven't done. We're starting with our swings. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Away we go. So we start with the kettlebell up in front and bring it in into my swings. So my arms are staying relaxed through the movement. Good. Once I've done my 10, I'm going to lower down. So remember that once we've done 10 kettlebell swings, we've got 8 overhead lunges. Whichever side the weight is on, that's going to be our front stationary leg. Now, if the shoulders are feeling a bit fatigued, you don't need to go all the way overhead. You can keep it in that front rack position. Okay? If the shoulders are still too fatigued for that, you can bring it down and have it on the outside of the front leg. But in that overhead position, we really want to make sure that we're keeping everything nicely stacked. If I'm struggling, I'm having to bend the elbow, just bring it into that front rack position. Good. Once you've done your 8, catch your breath. We're just over a minute through the round. Into our press next. So remember, exactly the same position. Load on the same side as the front leg for our press. You can dip and use the legs in that split position if you need to. But you can also come into a regular stance if it's a real struggle. Once you've got your 6 reps, we change sides. If I'm in that split position, I'm really making sure that I'm not leaning back on the press. Get your 6 reps, catch your breath. We're through 2 minutes of the round now. And then we finish with 4 reps of the half get up, but the half get up is from the kneeling position into the sitting position. Half kneeling position, weight on the same side as the front leg. Push the weight towards the ceiling, keep my arm vertical, sit through. Knee underneath the hips, and straighten up. And down into the space, sweep through, sit on the floor, straighten back up. Once you've got your 4 reps on one side, safely lower the weight, and then bring the weight up on same side as the front leg on the opposite side. Sit through and up, always keeping the arm perpendicular to the floor with the weight stacked over the shoulder. Once you've got your reps in, you can rest. Nice and slow and controlled, okay? Keep the arm pressing up towards the ceiling. Grey t-shirt was not a good idea this morning. Nice and smooth. Bringing that back knee through underneath the body. And then take your rest. Good stuff. Remembering that there's a lot of technical stuff going on here. You're having to coordinate a lot of joints and make sure the load, whilst this moving, is staying exactly where we want it to go. Okay, so we're not having our body dictated to by the load. We are dictating where the load goes and where it starts and finishes. Super, super important, all right? Because our back is exposed to the swings, our shoulders exposed to pretty much everything else we've got today. Good. 2 rounds in, 2 to go. Minute to go. Good. So remember with the swings, it's a big hip dominant movement, okay? Dry your hands off. We start in less than 30 seconds. Remembering to start with the weight slightly out in front, so when you pick it off the floor, you can pull it back in to initiate the first swing. All right? 10 seconds. 10 swings. 5, 2, 1. Let's go. 10 swings. All the time, keeping your back nice and flat, keeping the chest up. I'm looking about 2 meters in front. And I'm not pulling through my arms with very little body movement. Good. Once I finish my swings, I'm going to lower down to the floor so I can get myself set up for my overhead lunge. The overhead lunge, weight is stacked over the shoulder. I step back, down and up. Trying to keep the load over my shoulder all the time. If you're struggling with that position, you can bring it down to front rack. We need 8 reps on one side and then 8 reps on the other side. Just make sure that whatever option you choose, you mirror that on both sides. So again, if you're struggling, you'll be here. If your shoulders are really fatigued, we'll be down here. Good, I'll put the weight down. We're through about a minute. I've now got my press option. For anything like me at this point, the shoulders are going to be pretty fatigued. But the options we've got are a strict split position. Okay, where I'm in that position when I press, I can either use my legs or I can come into a regular stance. 6 reps on one side. If you're starting to breathe a little heavier, put the weight down before you switch sides. We are through, coming up on the 2-minute mark through the round. Okay, you bring that load up for my split stance press. Remember, I can use that knee bend to drive if I want to, so I can explode up. When I finish my 6 reps, lower to the floor. Just over the 2-minute mark now. I come down into my half kneeling position. I'm going to bring that weight up on the same side as the front leg. And then I reach down to the floor. Notice in this position, I'm keeping that weight over my shoulder. And I sit on through, push the weight to the ceiling, and stand. Nice and tight through that core all the time. Finish your 4 reps. And then switch sides. Bring the weight up on the same side as the front leg. Actively pushing towards the ceiling. Reaching down to the floor. Supporting with that lower arm. Sit through. Press the hips high to the ceiling. And then straighten up. If that load winds up outside the shoulder, it gets very tricky to maintain. Keep it stacked, keep it perpendicular to the floor all the time. Good job. One more round to go. And about 50 seconds before we get there. We've been a bit slower through this round, I believe. Oh no, we're good. We're okay, I've skipped a minute. Good stuff. Catch your breath, grab a drink. One more round to go. Spinning lots of plates here in terms of understanding what we're asking of the shoulder, of the hips, as we move the body. We're just over a minute before we start our final round. Don't rush the round. We go nice and slow and steady. Good quality movement, engaging all the right muscles. Okay. Understanding how to dissociate our shoulder. So being able to keep my arms still as I move my body around is key to kind of neck and shoulder health. All right. 40 seconds before we start our final round. $30 seconds. Grab a drink, walk around. Bit of a different feel to the workout this morning, okay, because of the high technical element. We don't want to be doing these things under fatigue until we've really mastered them, and we are under fatigue anyway, all right, because of the cumulative effect of all the volume. All right, get into position for our swings. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Good, solid start position, hinging at the hip, my lower back stays flat, and we swing. Power the hips forward. So you should just see the weight peek up between my hips, or behind my hips, at the bottom position there. And don't allow it to round me out or pull me onto my toes, okay? Fire the hips through. Good, once I'm done, save your lower back into position, not my lower back position. We then catch our breath and we get ready for our overhead lunges. Again, very much like the get up, I'm pressing that load to the ceiling. If my shoulders are starting to struggle, I'll bring it down into my front rack position where it's resting on the elbow. Good. I'm even going to put it down before I start the other side. Just so I can catch my breath. Keep my core nice and tight. Get that load overhead. And I step back and down. So remember that back knee. I'm not resting on it. I'm lowering down so I can push. If the shoulder's struggling, I'll be here. Or if I'm really starting to feel tight in the shoulder, I'm going to keep the weight on the outside of that leg. For 8 reps. Good stuff. Once you've done your 8 reps, we're now into your press. The press is going to be back in that split position, but we're going to stay there. If I'm right leg forward, the weight's in my right arm. Okay? Awesome, guys. Taking your time. Driving that load up again. We're looking for as little body English as possible. As soon as that weight ends up out here, our shoulder's got to do so much more work than if it stays tight into the shoulder. Okay? Take your time switching sides. Okay? Remember when we switch, whichever side the weight is on, that's our front leg in the press. Now you can do this all the way kneeling, but it's much harder because we get no leg involvement at all, okay? So we've got lots of options. Full kneel, standing, split position, or a square feet position where I can actually use my legs a little bit more. 6 reps we're looking for, remember? We're dropping 2 reps off every round. And then we're into our get-ups to finish the day. Remember with the get-up, you're starting in that half kneeling position with the weight on the same side as the front leg. As I lower my body, I put my hand on the floor, I keep the arm perpendicular, and then I sweep that foot through and I sit my hip to the floor. I then bridge, bring the knee back under the body and straighten up. Okay, all the time, keeping the arm locked out and the hand directly over the shoulder. So my shoulder, my elbow, my wrist stay in a good solid position. Put the weight down. Don't try and change your stance and put the weight across at this point because we're feeling a bit tired. Change my split position and then I can bring the weight up on that side. All the time, engaging the shoulder, hand down, sweep the foot through, then put my hips down, bridge using the bent leg, bring the knee underneath, straighten the body back up for 4 reps. 4 reps. Nice and controlled. Good job. And then we're done. Awesome. So like I said, very different feel there this morning. Okay. Take your time when you're working through it. Okay. We got a couple of guys on Zoom this morning, so I've used them as the timer. If you need to keep it all broken up, we did 5 rounds in total. We did 2 rounds where we separated them to really work on the technical elements. Then we did 3 rounds, what was it, 4 rounds? I lost count this morning. I think it might have been 4 rounds of linking them together to really create some demand. All right, so you can break that up and you can do it as you want to. All right, and I'll put all that in the description so you can follow along and you can pause it where necessary so you can carry on getting the coaching. Good, guys. All right. So let's give our lower back and our hamstrings a little bit of TLC. Okay, so just move the weight up and out the way. I'm just going to start with some little lumbar rolls, but we're going to do it in an all-4 position. Okay, all-4 position. You can bring your knees right together, and all we're going to do is we're going to allow the hips to drop out side to side. So in that front on position, normally I'd have my knees underneath my hips. I'm going to bring them together, and I'm just going to allow my hips and lower back to roll out side to side. Now you can keep your knees right up under your hips, which creates a bit more demand for the hips, or I can send them backwards a little bit, and I might get a bit more movement and feel that a bit more laterally into the hip. Okay? Good. Very nice. Staying in that kneeling position, what I'm going to do now is take the knees out super wide and bring my toes together. Okay? So I've got knees out wide, toes together, sit my weight back towards my heels, and then bring the hands down and in front. And we're just going to open out the thoracic spine now in this position. What we're going to do is fingertips into the floor like you've got a tennis ball under each hand. Remember, we're trying to get our hands and hips as far apart as possible. And from this position, I'm just going to lift my gaze up towards my hands and see if I can lower my chest through towards the floor. Good, nice and slowly flatten the hands and then walk yourself back up to that kneeling position, sorry. From our kneeling position, we're going to come into that familiar half kneeling position that we've just been in. Okay, what we're going to do from here is come down to like a sprinter start with our fingers on our fingertips just either side of our foot. Now the further forward you put your hands here, the quicker we're going to get the hamstring load, okay? All you're going to do with that front leg is bent right now. You're going to start to straighten it and send your hips back towards your heels. Now whenever you feel that load come on in the hamstring, that's fine. load it, get a nice little stretch, don't force it, come back out, do 2 more, back, hold, you should still be able to keep a bit of a poker face, all right, I'm not scrunching my face because I'm too uncomfortable, and really let the head and chest hang as well. You might find you can't go quite as far if you take the tension out of the upper body, so my arms relaxed, tucking my chin, and I've got this deep stretch from my hamstring. Good stuff. One more time. Doesn't matter if your toes come off slightly. Good, nice and slow. Rise out of that and we switch sides. Okay, my knee is underneath my hip. My ankle is underneath my knee. And come fingertips down onto the floor. Load the hamstring by starting to straighten that front leg. Come back up. We're going to hold each one for slightly longer. As I come back into this second one, I'm just going to allow tension out of my hands, allowing my chest to drop towards my knee. And that feels a bit of a deeper stretch, particularly in the top of my hamstring, just underneath my glute. Come back out. And then we go one more time. As I load back this time, I'm going to allow my chest to relax, but I'm also going to tuck my chin a bit. You'll find now that that really lights up. And what's happening when I tuck the chin is I'm just getting a little bit of a floss through my sciatic nerve as well, all right? If that's really intense, just put a little bit more flexion in that front knee. Or you can lift the head slightly to take that tension off. Good, nice and slowly come on out. And that is us done, guys, for Monday. Great work.